your co-workers are not your friend. That's the topic of today's situation. So either you will agree or you will disagree. And if you disagree, it's because you have not learned your lesson yet. Welcome to the morning yawning. I am here with my two favorite cohorts in the park. There's Lucy. There's Max scratching again. He's got some kind of a skin condition. But my name is Angelo, and I am a passport brother who brought my fiance from Vietnam to the United States. We got married, she's got a green card, and now we are planning the second phase of our life. And there are so many crazy things going on right now that the only way I can get to the point where I can share these things with you is by making a video at least every other day for the next couple of weeks, or we'll see, but something like that. So yeah, man, the reality, I'm still waking up. I haven't had my coffee yet, but the reality of this situation is I resigned effective immediately last Thursday. And that's another long story, but and I will definitely get into that. So you just have to subscribe and, leave a comment about here if you want to know what's going on. I can't divulge all of the details because there's possibly some other things coming about as a result of some poor choices by several people on the company side. But anyway, what I want to talk about today is Max, stop scratching. What I want to talk about today is the notion that your co-workers are not your friend. That's the topic of today's situation. So either you will agree wholeheartedly or you will disagree with every fiber of your being. And if you disagree, it's probably because you have not learned your lesson yet. Now, I've gone through several instances where peers, co-workers, colleagues, whatever, have literally stabbed me in the back. That's not the case for this situation. However, the fundamentals of the philosophy that your coworkers are not your friend still apply. Now, I'm not one to advocate being unfriendly in any situation. My last role in security, always called for me to be firm, to me to take authority, and to me to kind of draw the line, and enforce certain things. But it never meant that I was forced or compelled to be unfriendly. I don't believe in that. And some people, that's the only tool in their toolbox. But coming out of that type of situation, that kind of industry, it's kind of like cops who come out of being a cop or retire from being a cop, and then that whole cop mindset they can't let go, and so they try to find other things to do so they can maintain that mindset and that state of being. But anyway, I'm getting off the topic here. We'll talk about cops in another video. So your coworkers are not your friend. Doesn't mean you have to be unfriendly, and you should be friendly, especially because you will spend an exorbitant amount of time with these folks. But they're not your friends for a number of reasons, and I'm going to pick up what I believe are the main ones. Number one is they're not your family, and you didn't get to choose them. You were forced to interact with these folks based on the job responsibilities and functions of your employer. You didn't go out and run into them at the bar or the nightclub or the amusement park or whatever, find out that you had something in common, and then say, hey, let's be friends. No, you were placed in a situation where you had to find a way to get along. So you didn't have any choice in the matter. So you should not act as though you did or believe as though you did, because you didn't. And at the end of the day, not having that choice in the matter means that you should understand that both you and them are free to disengage at any moment in time. Whether or not that causes a little bit of sadness or whatever is besides the point. You guys are free to disengage. And when it comes down to it, people will do so. And some people, they won't look back at all. So that's one thing that you have to keep in mind. The other thing that you have to keep in mind about why your coworkers are not your friends is because you are always in competition with them in one way or another. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. If you are on the same level, then the both of you are aspiring or have goals or designs on getting to the next level. You want your boss's job or your supervisor's job or your manager's job. And so you are both in competition, whether you want to admit it or not, for that position. And if it came down to someone telling it's about you and this other person, and you had to fight for that position, you're going to fight, and so are they. And while you might walk away thinking, oh, well, at least I'm going to play fair, and these folks are going to play fair, and I trust them to do this because he invited me to his barbecue or blah blah blah. It's not the case. It's not the case. People will do what's necessary to get some extra money in their pocket, and that leads me to the next thing, and that's that. If you're in a position of leadership and you are friendly with your subordinates, you need to understand that anything you say, anything you do, anything you expose them to, any secrets you share, when it comes down to it, when it comes time for the owner of the company to look for a way to get rid of you, and that person has access to anything that you may have said, whether it's good or bad, that the mere innuendo of impropriety can position them to be in the place that you're now in. Do you think they're going to take it? Hell yeah, they're going to take it. They're going to absolutely, totally take it. And that's because when it comes down to working the 9-to-5 environment, and trust me, I know that we got some entrepreneurs out there and some, business-minded folks out there, and all of these other things out there, other types of, mindsets out there. At the end of the day, the world churns on the proletariat, on the everyday worker. That's how the world churns. And so we'll always need those kinds of folks. And so that's why the entire industry is built on teaching people how to get into that cog and churn the world. That's their little, infinitesimal contribution to the success of the world. And so as long as the world always needs 9-to-5 workers or proletariats, then people will always know that they can get a job in that vicinity, in that area. And if it comes to being able to stop it, she's scratching. If it comes down to being able to get that spot by indicating some sort of impropriety on your part, they're going to take it. And if it comes to getting that part by sharing something, you've got a golden parachute, so to speak, and you've shared that with your coworkers, and now your coworkers can explain that to your boss or your business owner, and so that they can prepare to nullify your golden parachute, and all because you shared this information with someone that you thought was your friend. And then lastly, people are not your friend because of this little thing called survival. The instinct to survive is it's ingrained in all of us. It gets tamed and tapered down in the business environment, but it still exists. And so in the business environment, being out in the wild, the instinct to survive means you got to do what you can to be better than or perceived better than the person next to you. Now, I was a leader. I actually ran the entire site for 7 years. And one of the things that I always told everyone is that, people would say, hey, this guy, he didn't like that decision you made. And this person, I don't think he liked the decision you made about this or what you did about that, what you said about that. And what I always said to myself is, hey, all of these people, my subordinates, want my job. They won't say it, but they do. They want it. And they all have ideas on how to do my job. Hey. And they all have ideas on how to do my job better than I do. But they don't have nearly the information that I have, because they're not talking to the client. They're not talking to the vendors. They're not talking to the contractors. They didn't sit down and design the rules and regulations. They didn't design the post instructions. They didn't design the itinerary. They didn't design the event schedule. They didn't do any of that stuff. But they can sit back from an armchair perspective and criticize what you do. And them being able to criticize what you do sets them up for survival when the shit hits the fan. Because when the shit hits the fan, everybody is out for themselves. It's me first. It's particularly in the corporate environment. It's not this mindset of, women and children first, or, loyalty first, or good character first. Is I want to hold on to my dollars, so I'm going to do and say whatever's necessary to keep it. And that's what I've gone through, and that's what I've understood. And like I said, I've gone through a few instances of more than a few instances of coming to the realization that the people that I was working with, the partners that I had set up with, the subordinates that I fought for, who I went to battle for on a regular basis, who would never put themselves in a position to have someone be unhappy with their actions. So they let the fighter go and take the brunt of the battle. I ended up learning my lesson. But not enough, apparently, because this time I was quite surprised by the number of people who did not show up on my behalf, even though I had fought for them every freaking day so that they can have a better working environment, so they can have more money. That raise didn't appear out of nowhere. And you have somebody else jumping in trying to take the credit for that raise, but they didn't sit down with the company owner and the client for an hour trying to figure out a way to create a raise. But they'll go to their subordinates and they'll say, "Oh well, I brought it to his attention. I brought it to his attention." So, your coworkers are not your friends. They are not people that you should rely on when you get into any kind of conflict with your employer. And what you should do is start to prepare yourself and mitigate the possibility of that situation going bad by lowering your information, lowering your disclosure of information or your procedure, your process, or your mindset, just reducing what you share with the people around you. Because while some of them might not come right out and blurt it out to use against you, when they get pushed up against the wall or bullied by the business owner, or where they get presented with some possible benefits if they support the business owner's endeavors, they're going to give you up so fast it'll make your head spin. And if you're lucky, you'll be able to survive because you mitigate the amount of information that you've shared, and they don't know everything. And if you're lucky, there is one or two people who are going to reach out. Or maybe there's one person. Maybe there's one person who's going to reach out and say, hey man, I'm just checking to see how you're doing. I heard this and I heard that, and they came to me and said this, and they came to me and said that. But that's why your coworkers are not your friend. So please, if you have any comments or if you disagree with what I'm saying, go ahead and put it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you say, and then let's keep in contact, because I don't wish bad on anybody, but you know, some people got to learn the hard way. Some people just have to learn the hard way. So please leave me your comments down below, what your perspective is. I will have many more videos coming on a regular basis now. I know I've said that in the past, but there's a lot going on and a lot happening. And if you are able to tune in and share your story or allow me to commiserate, I will do so. So if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate you guys. I like having this venue to kind of explore my thoughts, because I have been under a great deal of stress and tension, and even borderline anxiety. Now, I won't say borderline anxiety. I've had some anxiety where I've sat there and said, oh shit, how palpitations, oh my God, what's going on? Breathe. So yeah, you know, let me take you on this journey. I, for one, always feel that things work out for your good. I think the devil is a liar, and when the devil comes to kill and steal and destroy, there is already a plan for you to survive, and you just have to open your mind to that. And I've already done that, so I've got some other things to share about the progress I'm making elsewhere, and all of those things that come up in this world, like racial discrimination, workplace harassment, hostile work environment, constructive discharge, ageism, age bias. All of those things are real, but they don't have to bring you down. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.